Keith, starting you again as you look here, right? What are those most effective strategies you've seen to reduce your turnover? I know you shared some, right? And across all of your healthcare teams, right? Outside of your clinicians as well.
Well, we are challenged like, so many of the health systems, especially with that first year, kind of 1 to 3 years. It seems like if you can win them over after 3 years, I mean, you've captured them, and so that challenge to onboard, orient. For example, with our EVS staff, we have completely revised their orientation and onboarding process. We've stood up a simulation area where they can actually they can learn to clean the room, a simulation room, and do that 25, 30 times before they go up to the floor and get thrown out there. As well, we developed a preceptor program for them and a career ladder so they can advance their career and see that there are opportunities for them to advance if they would like to. We offer a leader in me program. If they would like to be a leader here, they can participate in that year-long program, and it has a capstone at the end of it, and they learn, the different competencies for supervisor, manager, and director. We have those built out, and our talent management team does an outstanding job, with that. But that career lattice or ladder, I think is really important to have. We had about 900 transfers within the system last year, and it just made my heart happy. That was about 200 over, the year before, and about 200 over the year before that. And so we are seeing that if we can keep them within the system and provide opportunities and a pathway for them, we can better retain them. But we've rolled out some cool programs too. We've partnered with Perk Spots, concert tickets and entertainment venues or what have you. We rolled out Pay Active, which was a earned wage programs that healers can access their money before payroll as well. And we were one of the first to do that. And so we're trying to put as many arrows in the retention quiver as we can, to really focus in on making sure our healers know they matter and that they're important. We've rolled out a new EAP program this year as well, and have focused on mental health, wellness, and burnout with our healers and our leaders.
Thank you, Keith. John, anything you want to build on there?
Sure. One thing I forgot to mention when I was describing our organization is that we're 80% unionized here. And we have a very good working relationship with all of our labor partners. But I think, one of the things that we did was to put in place a clinical ladder in our most recent contract with one of our unions for our respiratory therapists, because, I think the issue has shifted from nursing to some of the other areas like radiology, lab, respiratory is where some of our difficulty is. There are a lot less of those folks out there in the market, and the schools are pumping out a lot less. So it's really important to be able to retain those. And I was just at the IPMI conference, and it seems like that was a theme there too, is that, the focus is shifting from retaining. I mean, we certainly need to retain nurses, no question about that. But, there are also, you can't lose sight of some of our other, support caregivers, such as the respiratory therapists and really anyone in that support role. So, but, I still go back to, what we talked about earlier. Many of our retention tools are the things I mentioned earlier. If we can get them in the door, I think Keith mentioned this earlier, if we can get them in the door, get them, ingrained in the culture, that's going to just increase the chances for retention exponentially. And that really, that is both HR certainly needs to have the right programs in place, but, that the managers are the ones that really have to be their own retention sort of officers within their departments to be able to, make sure that they feel like they fit into the department, they're assimilated into not only the organizational culture, but, the departments have their own culture. So making sure that, the employees feel engaged in the culture of the department, feel like they fit in. And so, those are some things. I think the other thing Keith touched on too is, the proper and good orientation, not only to the JOB, the job duties, but to, the department and the organization as well. We do hear sometimes, well, I wasn't trained to do that, or, and so I think that orientation, onboarding is just a huge key phase as to how the rest of their experience is going to be with the organization. So again, no silver bullet, but just some thoughts.